Welcome to G-Man Gaming and Reviews. So in today's video, we're going to discuss melee builds. Are you ready to take on the Commonwealth up close and personal? In this beginner's guide, we'll show you how to create the ultimate melee build and dominate your enemies without firing a single bullet. Okay, we're basically going to cover two types of melee builds that are really similar. The only difference is one is going to focus on power armor and the other one's not. So obviously if you're focusing on a melee build, you're going to want to put a lot of points into strength because they affect like the damage that you do with all melee attacks. Now a melee build has several advantages in that it has infinite ammo, so you never run out of melee attacks, strong damage potential especially with perks, and fun and immersive close quarters combat. The problems with it can be getting close to enemies can be tricky. Can be like trying to do Mike Tyson's peekaboo style if you're old. That could be a challenge. And it requires strategic movement and timing. The very important points for a melee build in terms of stats is obviously strength, endurance if you're not going down a power armor build, and intelligence if you are going down a power armor build, agility for particularly sneak, and for a build, where is it? Action Boy. That's another good one for because you regenerate action points faster. And a bit of luck, especially for critical hits and looting efficiency. But if you're not doing a power armor build, you're probably going to want to focus on strength. Now, it depends upon, so the perks that you're going to need, regardless of what melee build you're playing, are Armorer, which you get at strength 3, and Blacksmith, which you get at strength 4. You need Armorer because it allows you to mod your armor, which is, it's always important, but it's extremely important with a melee build because you're going to have to get close to enemies. Blacksmith because it allows you to apply weapon mods to your melee weapons. Now the other perk is, where is it? Rooted. Rooted, which you get at strength 9, is a very useful perk because you get damage resistance when standing still, and your melee and unarmed attacks do 25% more damage, and you may automatically disarm enemies that use melee weapons against you. This is a really useful perk to have for any melee build, irrespective of whether you're going down power armor or not. The advantage of not going down the power armor build is that you don't have to put points in intelligence. But if you do want to be using power armor, you will need to put points in intelligence. So now we're going to go back to whether or not, so if you're focusing on melee weapons, you're going to go for big leagues. Get it up as high as level as you can. If you're focusing on unarmed, you're going to be using Iron Fist, right? This obviously, I believe, applies to power weapons as well. Power fists, I believe. Yeah, if you're focusing on unarmed combat, you're going to focus on Iron Fist. If you're focusing on melee weapons, you're going to focus on big leagues. Now, there's another perk here at strength 10, which is Pain Train. Which, if you are going down a power armor perk, if you are going down a power armor build, you probably should get this because you're probably going to go all the way up to strength 9 to get the rooted perk, because there's no reason not to. This is a quintessential perk for the increasing damage resistance is really good, and the extra damage is very useful. If you are going down the power armor route, you might as well get Pain Train as well. It's not as high priority as rooted is and the other strength perks related to melee, but since you're going down the strength tree anyway, you might as well get it. Now, the next perks we're going to focus on if you're not going down the power armor route is the endurance tree. You will need the endurance tree in order to help you stay alive. So the first one is the one you get at level 1, toughness, which boosts your damage resistance. It stacks with rooted in the strength tree, so really useful for helping you stay alive. It also stacks with your armor as well, so very useful in that respect. Then we have Life Giver, extra health, and at maximum rank allowing you to regenerate lost health, very useful. And Chem Resistant. It only requires you to get up to Endurance 4 to get it. You don't have to sink a lot of points into it. But if you're not going down the Power Armor build, you definitely want to get this because you are going to be using chems quite a bit. I find myself using chems even in my Power Armor gun build. Chems are like the old crap button. Like being able to slow time, especially for a melee build, is extremely useful. Very useful if you are going down the non-Power Armor route. The next one we're going to talk about, if you're not going down the Power Armor route, is you obviously want to get Sneak, max it. At least cause it to get up to level 50. So that you can sneak up to enemies so they have less time to shoot at you. As we said before, Action Boy is really useful for regenerating action points so that you can use V.A.T.S attacks when you get close to enemies. Now, the next one in the luck tree, which is optional. Luck 3, you have Bloody Mess, which inflicts additional damage, stacks with all your other perks for damage, which is really good. And then you've also got Critical Banker at luck 7, which is optional, that allows you to basically bank crits. Very useful for saving them when you need them, especially with a melee build, because sometimes you will have to get up close to enemies that can do a lot of damage, and so having those critical hits banked can be very useful. So you shouldn't waste, if you've got Critical Banker, you should not waste them on lesser enemies. You should save them for when you really need them. Now, I did discuss this in my previous guide, but it's relevant to this one. If you are going down instead of the Power Armor route, you're obviously going to have to put ranks in Intelligence. Now, you probably are going to have to focus on Science in order to max out your armor mods for the Power Armor. Now, just be aware, even if you are going to the Power Armor route, you still do need the Armorer perk. And you probably want to get the Blacksmith perk if you want to get the melee mods for Power Armor. You're also going to really want Nuclear Physicist if you are going down the Power Armor route. You have to get to Intelligence 9 to get this. Nerd Rage can actually be really good for a melee build. I don't normally take it when I'm playing a gun build because it doesn't really fit in. But if you're playing a melee build and you're getting all the way up to Intelligence 9, you might as well go up to Intelligence 10 to get the Nerd Rage, because it's really useful for a melee build because it slows down time when you lose health. You get more damage resistance. It's really useful for a melee character, not so useful for a gun build. Now, we're going to talk about recommended melee weapons. For the early game, probably tire irons and machetes. Tire irons are pretty easy to find, and machetes are lightweight and reliable for early encounters. Mid-game, you're going to focus on maybe the Super Sledge or the Chinese Officer Sword. And late game, you're going to find Grognak's Axe, Krem's Tooth, and Shish Kebab. Grognak's Axe, you're probably going to find pretty early on. Because it's near Diamond City, Hubris Comics, I think it is. So you're probably going to find this pretty early on. You've also got Krem's Tooth, which gives you poison effect damage over time, and the Shish Kebab for fire melee based weapon for stylish kills. So for armor, if you're not going down a Power Armor route, you're probably going to focus on metal armor for good early protection, and then combat armor later on. If you are going down the Power Armor route, you're obviously going to want to get Power Armor. Now, one of the advantages of a Power Armor build over the non-Power Armor build is when you're dealing with Death Claws. I don't think So Death Claws have an ability in Fallout 4 to auto-kill you, irrespective of how much health you have, even if you are at max health, right? This doesn't apply though if you have Power Armor. They can still pick you up, but they can't actually auto-kill you. They have to get your health down like normal. So this is something to keep in mind if you're going down a melee build, because there are numerous sections in the game where Death Claws will just pop out of nowhere. And if you are doing a straight melee build, you're probably going to want to have chems in order to survive. especially against Deathclaws because they have that instant kill ability. I don't think any of the other enemies have that instant kill ability in melee. I think it's only Deathclaws, which makes them really dangerous in Fallout 4. That's why I always have full power armor in the late game. Not only is it because it increases your strength, but it gives you that ability to survive a lot of damage. Now, as for playstyle and tips, you're going to be using V.A.T.S. You really want to target weak areas when you're dealing with enemies, so like heads and limbs for maximum damage and utility. You're going to want to use movement and positioning, using cover and sprint to close the gap between you and ranged enemies, which is very useful, especially if they have things like missile launchers and stuff like that. And you're probably going to want to circle around enemies to avoid getting swarmed. This works really well with things that slow down time. Chem usage for a non-power armor melee build is going to be very useful. So you definitely want to get your chems, your endurance up to 4, so you can get the chem resistant. So at level 22 you only have to sink 2 points in it, and getting to endurance 4 doesn't really require a lot of points. Very useful in that respect. Another route is to combine sneak with, with Blitz. Blitz, you have to get up to agility 9 to get Blitz. It's very useful with a V.A.T.S build because it allows you to close the distance very quickly. Not a required skill, maybe something you might focus in the late game. It's probably more of a useful skill if you're going down a sneak build, if you're going down ninja. But it is useful because it can be like an old crap button to allow you to, if you're just out of range, pop into V.A.T.S and then you can melee the enemy. Companions who complement melee builds are Strong and Dogmeat. If you're going down the Dogmeat route, Attack Dog is actually really good because it allows Dogmeat to take down enemies and hold them there, which is very useful for a melee build, especially when you're dealing with ranged enemies. Very useful. I don't think you can do it on super mutants or really big enemies, but there are still enemies in the game like gunners and certain raiders that you really don't want shooting at you. It's very useful. Strong as well, very good companion for a melee build as well, because Strong is really good in close combat. So as for leveling progression, in the early game, probably Big Leagues or Iron Fist depending upon what you're doing, Toughness, and then Action Boy or Girl. Mid game you want to go with Rooted, Life Giver, and Sneak. And in the late game, Bloody Mess, Chem Resistant, and obviously Strong back. One other good advantage of having a melee build is that's focusing on strength is you're going to have a lot of carry weight. So a lot of weight to carry, a lot of things to carry, a lot of carry space. And you can obviously increase it more by having Strong back perk, which you get at strength 6. And if you get it up to rank 4, even if you're over encumbered, you can fast travel. Useful to sink the points in if you are going down that route, since you are going down that route anyway in order to get the Rooted ability. So some advanced strategies are, so you obviously using settlements for farming materials to upgrade melee weapons. So I discussed this in my previous guide. If you can, you want to get to Charisma 6 so you can get local leader. One other advantage of getting your charisma up high is you can get Party Boy, and this actually works well with alcohol. Like for instance, your luck increases by 3 when under the, and you can't get addicted to alcohol, and the effects of alcohol are doubled, and your luck increases by 3 points while you're under the influence. So if you are going down the charisma route in order to get local leader, you might want to incorporate alcohol into your game plan. Attack Dog, like I said before, if you're going down companion route with Dogmeat. One of the things about this build is that you can get like unique synergies, like combining stealth and V.A.T.S for maximum damage efficiency, especially if you combine it with Blitz, so you sneak up to the enemies and then Blitz allows you to close the extra distance, so it's very useful in that respect. Some of the challenges that you're going to have trouble with is dealing with flying enemies and groups in particular. Maybe one thing that I might recommend is going down the demolition, the perception tree. You're going to need to go down it anyway to get perception 4 to get master locks. Maybe getting some points in demolition expert to give you some AoE control. Really useful to start if there's a cluster of enemies. It's really useful to start a fight by dropping, say, a grenade in the middle of those enemies and then running in to finishing them off. Very useful in that respect, so something to mention with. One of the things about why you would play a melee build, so melee builds are fun and effective. They're a very different sort of way of playing the game than a gun build is. So like I said, we've highlighted the key perks, weapons, and strategies. Like you want to get your strength up to 9, you want to get the routed, iron fist, or big leagues, depending upon whether you're focused on melee weapons or fists. You obviously want to get your ranks in armorer and blacksmith. And then, depending upon whether or not you're going down the power armor build or the non-power armor build, you want to get your endurance up to at least 4 to get chem resistant, life giver, and toughness. And you want to get your agility up to at least 3 to get sneak, and then get it up to 5 to get action boy later on to regenerate those perks. And you've got like optional perks of blitz at a higher agility if you want. And if you are going down the power armor build, you're going to need to get your intelligence up to at least 9 to get science at rank 6 and to get nuclear physicist at rank 9. Probably if you are going down that route, you want to get nerd rage, useful for a melee build. Yeah, so I'd like to encourage you to experiment and share your favorite melee tips in the comments. Like I said, if you found this guide helpful, please share and subscribe for more Fallout tips and guides. I would like to hear your comments on this, what you liked, what you didn't like, what's your favorite melee build, how is it different from the tips that I recommended, etc. This was G-Man Gaming and Reviews. Please subscribe if you haven't already done so. Signing off.